I'm Katie.
And I'm Kay.
And you're listening to the Babes of Quinny podcast.
This episode is sponsored by Family Dental Center, locally owned with offices in Belleville, Frankfort, and Coburg.
The Family Dental Center has a friendly team that can help you with all your dental needs, including hygiene, cosmetic dentistry, dentures, Invisalign, veneers, sedation, and whitening.
Family Dental Center also has extended hours with appointments available before and after work and on Saturdays.
For more information, go to FamilyDentalCenter.com or follow them on Instagram at FDCFamily. Happy Thursday. Sorry we're late on this. My fault.
Yeah, well, I guess I'll forgive you this time.
Thank you. I do the editing.
Oh my God.
You do the marketing, so together we are like a jam-packed team.
And I just don't know how to edit, so.
YouTube. JK. Yeah. We do have some people in the office who teach me things.
That's important.
Yeah, it is. How are you?
I'm good.
It's snowing.
It's really snowing.
This is a record.
It's a record?
That's what I heard on the news. This is a record for January. We have, the last record was 10 centimeters, and we got 16 centimeters.
Holy shit. It's not even a little record win. It's a
No, it's
big
a big record.
You know what? I don't even hate it. It's the first...
Truthfully, I'd rather this than, freezing rain.
Freezing rain is, the worst one.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can deal with snow, because this isn't even really that difficult to drive in.
No, it's a little slidey, but...
I mean, if you're not an idiot on the road, just slow down.
Yeah. I was driving on the 401 last night while this was,
happening,
because I convinced myself that we were going to beat the storm. Didn't beat the storm. And we were driving in it. We were going a solid 60.
Yeah.
So, it worked.
No, I feel if you drive slow, you start braking way earlier than you think you need to, it'll be fine.
Mm-hmm. I'm not worried about myself. I'm worried about other people.
Oh, yeah. No, but I'm just informing the other people of how to actually drive in the snow.
You hear that, babes?
Babes, this is how you drive in the snow from Northern Ontario.
Yeah, she's legit at this.
I learned to drive on my very first time driving with a driving instructor was on Halloween. So there was little kids everywhere and it was snowing.
Of course it wasn't.
So, I was prepped for success from the beginning.
I love that. Okay. What's going on in your life? Anything?
There's lots of things. So
good things, bad things?
No, lots of good things.
Yay.
I'm really busy because I'm taking, I'm in school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm taking digital analytics at Algonquin College online and part-time. And so I'm just really busy with that. And I'm learning so much, which is really cool because everything I've been doing has been mostly self-taught.
Yeah.
So I'm just you know what? I want to make sure, one, I'm doing this right. And two, I want the piece of paper to be hey, you're qualified to do this.
And you so are. I call you a wizard all the time for many reasons. I come into your office and I'm can you show me how to do this?
And you're okay.
You're click, clack, click, clack. And then I'm oh, you're a wizard, Kay.
I'm so excited. But yeah, no, I'm really excited about that. And it's going really well. And I feel I'm smart because my teacher tells me I'm smart.
Smart.
I know. It's just nice to hear it.
I think, though, we both have very inner saboteurs.
Oh, yeah. I doubt myself all the time.
Break them down. I doubt myself constantly. Because yesterday, we recorded it before, but we were on the Simple Talk podcast. We were on another podcast.
If you haven't watched it, you should go watch it.
Yeah, go watch it. You can get it through Simple Desk on Instagram or Facebook. And I was before I was are we even qualified to do this? But I thought we sounded good and
Well, I after I watched it, I was you know what? I don't think we were giving ourselves enough credit.
No.
Because it's we started as unqualified babes, but I feel we're getting pretty qualified.
So here we go. We're doing it.
It's exciting.
It is exciting.
I like it.
Me too.
It's really fun.
Should we chat about our guests this week?
We should chat about our guests for sure.
Ashley and Emma.
From the Grace Inn.
We're amazing.
I am mind blown by these women.
So mind blown.
Just their passion, the way that they speak about their work is the way I feel I speak about my work.
Yeah, but they're doing really important things.
They're helping people directly, which I I could do, but I hate people too much.
Yeah.
And not in the way that I hate people because of their situation. I just hate people.
Yeah, like people are a lot.
I'm very antisocial.
And we have anxiety.
Yeah. But yeah, they are doing some incredible work for the community.
I really hope that this chat we have with them kind of ends some stigma around Grayson and the unhoused population of Belleville.
I felt very ignorant.
And things I didn't even think about.
Like, yeah, just the situations. And it's like, yeah, you know what? Like, I feel like I'm very liberal. I feel like I'm, like, not even politically, but just like, I feel like I'm very open. I'm open to, helping people. I'm open to, I know that, addiction is a disease. Yeah. I know, you know what I mean? Like, all these things. I think Black Lives Matter. I love the gays. Like,
you love me?
But you know what I mean? Like, I felt like I thought I knew things, but I didn't.
No.
And it's like, it's very eye-opening.
I realized and didn't realize is the Grayson opened weeks before COVID was a nightmare. So I think a lot of people have no idea
didn't close.
It didn't close. They stayed open and worked their butts off through COVID to continue to help the more unhoused people because of COVID. Like, it was like a crazy cycle that happened. Like, people who wouldn't normally be unhoused were then unhoused, and then the housing market. It's like this episode is like mind blowing, and please listen to.
Honestly, thank you for booking them and meeting them, because I think this is probably one of the most important episodes that we've ever done, and it's not like all sad and
it was
it's
actually
like very. You'll see.
We laugh a lot. It's educational. We talk about phone lines. You'll see. For now, enjoy the episode, and we'll catch you at the end.
Yep.
Today we are chatting with two ladies doing amazing work in the Belleville area. Ashley is the Director of Operations at the Grayson Shelter located on Church Street in Belleville. She is a local lady who grew up in Sterling. She left Quinte to attend the Sheridan Institute Community Development and Outreach Program. After working west of Toronto, she relocated back to Belleville to take on the role at the Grayson Shelter. Emma is a Quinte transplant and yet another guest from the beautiful East Coast. Originally from St. Margaret's Bay, Nova Scotia, Emma attended Memorial University in Newfoundland and has a bachelor degree in psychology. She relocated to Belleville and is now the Associate Director of Programming at Grayson. After 2 years of labor and community support, the Grayson Shelter opened its doors to the unhoused population of Belleville on December 16, 2019. The Grayson is a 21-bed emergency shelter for adults in downtown Belleville with a special focus on dignity, community, and mentorship. To date, the shelter has provided over 19,000 overnight bed stays, 38,342 meals, and 45,519 volunteer hours. In 2002, the shelter opened the Shiloh House, which is a 5-bedroom and 1 accessible studio unit for male identifying individuals. We are excited to have the opportunity to chat with 2 experienced individuals and learn more about what the Grayson Shelter and Shiloh House is bringing to the community. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, please welcome Ashley and Emma from the Grayson Shelter and Shiloh House.
Yay!
Hi. Reading those numbers gave me chills because those are
that's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah. It's interesting to hear the bed night stays, because unless you kind of dive a bit deeper into it, understanding that it's if we have our shelter full for an entire week, it's 21 times 7.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So then that's the number of beds that have been filled since we opened.
Holy crap.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Before we super dive in, I just want to talk about terminology because I said unhoused and I want to make sure we're using the right terminology through this. So what term should we know?
Unhoused works perfectly.
Yeah, okay.
We always say experiencing homelessness instead of homeless people.
Okay.
Because we don't want to identify the person by what is potentially a stigmatic term.
Yeah.
So we always say they are experiencing homelessness, because then eventually the hope is to get them out of it.
Yeah, it's a cool conversation. My husband was actually asking me last night if homeless is an offensive word.
I know, and that's why, because I'm I feel like it does put people in a box, and I feel like we're trying to break the box.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's the same thing with mental health stuff. It's you identify the person first, and then whatever it may be.
Yeah, and we always try to relate it to somebody experiencing or living with cancer.
Yeah.
We don't say that they are the cancer. We say like they are living with cancer. They have cancer, and so it's kind of the same thing, right? Like,
Well, it's the idea that like I don't identify myself by my housing. I
Yeah.
say that I'm a girl with a 2-bedroom house.
Imagine, hi, I'm Katie. I have a
Hi,
bedroom.
Emma.
Yeah. So why do we always do that for this population?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
That makes sense.
I like that. I just want it because I always want to make sure. I mean, we want to educate people.
Absolutely.
Who may not know.
Well, and that's a huge part of like why we do things like this, so that, you know, nobody feels bad about using the wrong terminology when they haven't been educated. And then once you have that education piece, then you can go forward with confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Exciting. I love this. You guys are really cheerful. It makes me happy.
Thanks. We get that all the time.
How did you each get into this field? Like, was it what you wanted to go into? What was your plan?
Hilarious. So I was going to go to art school.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's
and
quite
then-
the
Plot twist.
Yeah, I know. Boo-doo-doo. And then I was like, oh, I don't think you could make a lot of money in art. So then instead I went into social services.
Because you can make so much money,
So
right?
much money.
Yeah, okay. That's
obviously,
what I thought.
obviously. No, so I went to school for community development and outreach, and from there I really was going to go and work with youth in the justice system. So I started like a drop-in center to kind of get my feet wet in Sterling, and I was working there for about 2 years when I moved away, and continued to work in youth drop-in centers. But actually, when I was in London, the drop-in center that I worked with, their youth population was majority homeless youth.
Oh.
So that's really how I got into working with the homeless population. And then from there, I went into a feet on the ground street outreach worker, where I was like outside for 8 hours a day, getting to meet folks, going into their campsites, driving them to the hospital, working really closely
Wow.
with them. So I absolutely just fell in love with the adult homeless population. And so that's really like kind of my journey, was not at all working with the homeless population, and completely falling in love with the people and the service providers.
Ashley, like people always say that we're so similar, and it's funny because my story starts the exact same. I was going to pastry school.
Oh, wow. Okay.
My dad sat me down and said, "Emma, you're not going to make any money going to pastry school."
Why does dads love to sit you down and say that when you dream of being a baker?
I
know.
So
Rude.
Dad shut me down, and I always went to the food bank with my grandparents volunteering in the summers growing up. So I was
okay.
kind of like connected to part of the vulnerable population. So I decided to do psych, thinking that I was going to be a psychologist at the end of my 4-year undergrad, which
Isn't that fun?
isn't quite the way it goes.
I thought I was going to be a geographer. Look at me now.
Yeah, here we are.
Thriving.
Well, I took advertising.
Yeah, we
fell in your
we
path.
get it.
Okay,
Kay.
but also I didn't go to school right after high school.
yeah.
Okay.
I had a growth period.
We
Yeah,
love a growth
nice.
period.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, from there, I started working in group homes, which are needed, of course, but they are for-profit.
Oh,
So-
really?
I had no idea.
I didn't know that.
So the group homes are for-profit. It can get pretty dark. They each agency bids on who can house the kid for the cheapest.
Oh God, no.
Yeah, it's
What?
gross.
I hate
so
that.
I was like,
Wait,
I
so like
need-
it's like a group home for children.
And
Yeah.
that's specifically in Newfoundland. We
yes,
don't know
this
what
was in
it is
Newfoundland.
Okay.
Yes. So I had a hard time with that, and saw that the Gathering Place, which was a nonprofit for the homeless population, those who are precariously housed, provisionally housed, was hiring, and I don't want to say I didn't care about homeless people at that time, but I didn't have a passion for it yet, but just wanted to get out of the for-profit service. So I ended up starting at the Gathering Place, and there was this one guy who I'll never forget who came up to me and said, "You know, Emma, you guys are the only ones who look me in the eye and call me my name in the run of a day."
That
And
is like
yeah.
wild to
yeah.
me.
So it really sparked it for me, like helping people feel seen.
Yeah.
So then I ended up moving here 2.5 years ago for my husband's job. Emailed Ashley looking for a volunteer position, which she offered an interview just kind of from that.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Yeah.
2.5 years later.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've grown so much. Like when I interviewed Emma, I was just our team lead. And then as she moved into systems navigation, I moved into shelter coordination, and then I moved into director of operations, and Emma is now associate director. So our entire career paths have kind of just aligned.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I love that.
So how? I guess tell us what about the Grayson Shelter. I toured it. So cool.
I have not.
learned so much in like
I know
a 5
nothing.
minute. Yeah.
Okay,
So
well,
tell
here
me
it is.
everything.
For it. Yeah, so I mean, obviously Grayson is a 21-bed overnight emergency shelter, but that's like the baseline of what it is. There's so much more. It's this shelter environment that is so caring and kind and loving and wants that rapport and relationship with our guests. So we serve at up to 16 men or male identifying individuals and up to 5 female identifying individuals. And there is a reason behind why there is a difference, and we can talk about that a little bit more later. But we do, obviously, the overnight shelter. We have a funded breakfast program, so everybody who comes into the shelter gets a hot meal, like a hot breakfast, and even if that's not what they want, they can get whatever they want. We know if they're cereal people, like we've got a million kinds of cereal that they can opt into. And then at nighttime we do a donation funded, it's not funded financially, but we do take a lot of donations for a night meal because we're incredibly acutely aware that a full belly is a happy person.
Yes.
Yeah. And when you go-
Hanger. It's a real thing.
Yeah. So we want to make sure that they have as much food as they want and need, so that when they do go to bed, they're not, having stomach cramps from not having enough food. And then obviously our overnight team is there to support them in everything that they need. But then we've got a day team that does all of our cleaning and response to the door, and then our systems navigation program at the shelter. And Emma can touch on that a bit.
Yeah, so the systems navigation at the shelter, the quickest way to describe it is just that it covers everything beyond their bed night stay. So a lot of that time it looks like advocating for the guests when speaking to other agencies. A really unfortunate reality is that you guys or I can sometimes get a lot farther on a phone call than someone who's experiencing homelessness is.
Of course.
We have the right social cues, we know the right language, we know the buzzwords. So the systems navigator does a lot of advocacy. A lot of referrals, just connecting people to other agencies in the community. We didn't have a systems navigation role at the shelter when I started. And I just kind of started helping people when I had finished the cleaning at the end of my shift, and then was able to plead my case to Ashley and the rest of the upstairs team at the time to say, we really need this because we have so many great partners doing great work in the community, but our guests just didn't know how to find it. So Systems Nav's doing a lot of the referrals, and sometimes it just looks like showing them how to do it, because Gigi search and find those listings or get them into detox.
Yeah.
So, like anything they need, it's all guest led, so it's up to them to kind of decide what their goals are. My analogy I always use is that they are the drivers, but the Systems Nav is the GPS. So just pointing them in the way that they need to go, but they're still the ones doing the work.
I think that's really cool that you guys are like taking the guest approach, like where they have to kind of lead things, because otherwise, like if you force anybody into anything, they won't do it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And not like just specifically this. It's like any sort of like, if I was quitting smoking, like unless I want to, like it's not going to happen.
Well, and that's like a harm reduction philosophy.
Yeah.
Is like you approach it in a way of trying to reduce the harm. And same with this. It's like we want this person to be dedicated to what they want changed in their life versus us being like, you need income and you need to have a job and you need to have all these things. Well, there are many barriers to them making those decisions. Not everybody who comes through the shelter can get a job.
Can you sorry to interrupt you, but can you explain what a barrier would be for somebody, for those who wouldn't know?
Yeah. So like a mental illness or a mental unwellness of some kind, those things really prevent us from doing what we consider logical things in our day. We can set a task list and probably complete it with minimal restrictions.
Yeah, if you don't have a watch or a cell phone, you don't know that your appointment's at 1:00. How are you going to get there?
Yeah.
If you don't have a cell phone and you applied for a job, how are they calling you for the interview?
Yeah. Right? And when you're in survival mode, you really don't think beyond that moment. So, Emma and I just did a webinar, and it's not information we didn't know, but it's just fun to share it with everybody. This idea called a time horizon. So the 4 of us sitting in this room, the farthest in advance that we could think about is probably our retirement or our grandchildren in the future. But someone who's living in survival mode all the time, like their time horizon is 24 hours.
Oh, okay.
So they're not thinking of, next week I have a job interview. They're thinking of, I need to get my basic needs met. So I need food, I need to be safe, and I need shelter.
Yeah.
And if they don't have those things, then that's what they're going to seek out.
The rest of it kind of crumbles too.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
the
cool.
Grace Inn is helping people have those needs met so that they can move on to the next stage, see a little
The
bit
next stage
longer
of the
on
housing continuum.
Yeah, we learned about that too.
What a wonderful,
Yeah.
that's great.
And like one thing I learned when I came to see the shelter is so people can stay longer than one night. It's not like they're there and then you kick them out after that.
Yeah, so they can stay up to 30 nights. And there is a flexibility to it. Of course, people can choose to leave at any point in time. If they're not meeting expectations, and we call them expectations, not rules, because they are flexible, they might be asked to leave a little sooner. Or if they are fully employed with 30 hours or more a week, or there is a date for them to move somewhere, they can extend that 30 nights.
Okay.
So that we've got a solid routine for them. So especially if they're employed and they're not getting any sleep, they're more likely than not to be released from that job because they're coming in late, or they are not showing up at all because of time restrictions or not having sleep. And then we don't want to mess up somebody's housing opportunities, so we want to make sure that they've got everything they need right up into the date of move-in. So it is flexible, but 30 nights is pretty common in shelter systems. The difference that we hold is that where other communities have multiple shelters, they do a 30-day in, day out system.
Okay.
We do a 30-day in, 7-day out system, and there are a variety of reasons. One, we don't want to make it too comfortable. We want people to understand that it is a shelter and not a home, and we really encourage seeking housing and permanent sustainable housing options. Second is there are people who would just never leave. They would stay and live in the shelter forever, and having that break allows new people to come in. And because of COVID and our housing crisis, we're seeing a lot more people who have never experienced homelessness before. So if we just had the same 21 people in every night, those individuals would never receive services through shelter system or Grace Inn shelter system.
What services does Grace Inn provide? Is that an okay question? I was like, we didn't answer this right.
Well, it's the systems navigation, it's the breakfast, the meal, and then Emma's, I guess, can talk on Shiloh House.
Yeah. So Shiloh, we're coming up on our 1-year anniversary. Is that crazy?
It's wild. We created this program in 2 months.
Really?
Really?
Yeah. It was.
What
quite a
pushed?
time.
I guess what is Shiloh House and what pushed the start of it?
Yeah, so we call it a transition house, but it really is more of a housing sustainability program tied into a transition house. So we can have 6 male identifying individuals living there at a time. They're paying rent. They have a room, but there's really intensive programming for them to live there. So they've got case management meetings every week. They've got workshops every week where other agencies and people are coming in and kind of doing mini presentations. They have to be involved in education, training, or employment. So it is a lot of work to live there, and then they kind of The idea is that while they're there for up to a year, they're learning all the skills they need to hopefully never enter homelessness again. And then we support them in finding safe permanent housing. So we actually just had our first 2 guys move in together as roommates in a 2-bedroom.
Story.
Yeah, because you guys were involved with the bed.
Thank you. We actually visited them yesterday to drop off the second half of the second bed, and their place is huge. Like they're really proud. It's
way more storage than I have in my house.
I love, honestly, it's just like that makes me like all warm and fuzzy inside. It's like, and it must be like so rewarding to see like these people kind of like grow on their journey, right?
Absolutely.
And it's like, you know, they become independent.
And yesterday when we were at their apartment, it was awesome to see they're so integrated in their community. They know every single dog that lives in their apartment building. The names, the breed.
I love that.
It's awesome. And then they know their neighbors, and they chat with their neighbors, and to see these 2 guys who at the shelter was not necessarily intending on being roommates, but when they became residents of Shiloh House, that's where they kind of made that decision to be roommates and help each other succeed.
Yeah, and shout out to their landlord. These two guys, sometimes we kind of dance around the fact that they're at a homeless shelter or a transition house a bit because there's so much stigma tied to it. And the guys were like, we're proud of where we're living. Like, we want these people to know. And they were so forthcoming with their past experience and their current experiences. And their landlord was all about giving them a chance. So,
that's
shout
amazing.
out to her.
Yeah. And it was so awesome just to like have that experience with a landlord. Like we at Grace Inn, we don't have connections to landlords. Like it's not a part of our job. It is for other housing agencies, but we just haven't really developed that. And so to have this immediately positive response from a landlord that's never worked with us, never had a rapport built in the past, just knowing that they are such a kind human. And it's truly Grace Inn philosophy of that kindness culture that she has exemplified.
I think it's just what's going on in housing right now. And like, for instance, I had to start renting again. And as someone who has a job, has support, I had so many questions, and like, it was just pleading my case over and over again. So I can't imagine not having that support and still trying to go through that and advocate for yourself.
Yeah. And then on top of that, like you said yourself, like you've got a job and you probably make more, and I'm not going to ask, but you probably make more than $700 a month. Yeah. So, I mean, most of us do who work full time. Like if you're making only $700 a month, probably get a different job.
Yeah.
But our folks on social assistance, that's kind of, I mean, it's a little bit more than $700 a month, but that is your street allowance or your food money and your clothes money and your basic needs money. Yeah. And then you've got your shelter portion. And sometimes people who don't know social assistance terminology, they think, oh, that money's going to go to the shelter. We don't receive that money. That is housing shelter. It's specific to when you have an apartment.
Oh, okay.
So you don't get that money until you have a place to rent.
Oh, so that part isn't part of their welfare until they're...
Correct.
A whopping $390 a month for housing.
Yeah.
So practical. That would definitely cover something.
Barely.
My face right now, I'm like, that's like my water bill. I don't... Like, how are you?
Here's my spicy question. How does the government expect people to live off of that?
Doug Ford, can you call?
We have some questions.
Sorry, do
we have some questions.
God. Yeah.
But like realistically, you think about it, it's like, scenario, myself. I have a full-time job. I have 2 kids. I make a decent salary.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable. But if I had to move and find like a 3-bedroom house right now,
No.
I would not be able to afford to live in the city.
No. And like social assistance hasn't gone up significantly in years.
Yeah.
Like when I was a street outreach worker in London, and this number is probably not going to be the most accurate because it was like 7 years ago, but I would say that shelter portion was like $372. And what is it now, Emma?
It's $390.
What?
Yeah.
Like, but I just...
So when you go looking online right now, a room rental is between $700 and $800.
Yeah.
So
so
how
most
are
of your
you
money is
eating?
going to that, and then you have to still get transportation, cell phone, internet, food, which is also expensive.
I think too, just it's shocking when you get a house. Like, I'm like, great, I have an apartment, and then you're like, wait, now I have hydro, water, and like all the things
All
you
the
said.
things.
You don't. So you go in with this one price, and then you're like, oh wait, like.
And then if you
Yeah,
need like
it's
a
actually
deposit for your hydro,
$600 more
Yeah.
a month. And then you think about people going into room rentals that are $900. There's absolutely no security in that because you don't have tenant rights.
Oh,
true,
okay.
yeah.
Explain this. Well, you don't.
I know.
Room rental. So if you're sharing the kitchen or the bathroom with the landlord or the landlord's family, you have no tenancy rights, which means I could say to you today, hey, you can move in. It's $600. I need first and last. And then 2 minutes later, I could say, nah, you're evicted. Keep that money. There's no repercussions.
Yeah.
So that's why.
What?
Yeah.
It's really messed up.
It was such a big deal to get these two guys in a 2-bedroom together because it means they have those tenancy rights, so they're protected. Whereas most of our people, a room is the only option, and they're kind of looking at us going, well, what happens if this landlord evicts me tomorrow? But there isn't another choice.
No choice. And I think that's the crazy thing too, even looking for an apartment, is you're either looking at astronomically high for not a lot, or you're looking at a room rental. And unfortunately, landlords, hopefully you got a nice one. Like, your guys got like such a great one, and that's amazing, you know, and that's what I think everyone has to hope for at this point, because you could get a really shitty one.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's something that we're like majorly worried about with our guests going into these room rentals is, you know, a lot of our folks have a background in the justice system for a variety of reasons, scaling from stealing food to survive all the way up to, you know, being a dangerous person. And a quick Google of somebody's name can really be detrimental to their housing, because it's like, oh, you assaulted somebody 10 years ago, but you still have that charge. And you haven't had any charges since, but you've got that one.
So
it's see you later.
Because why should something 10 years ago, like...
You know what I mean? Like, people change. Like, I did shitty things when I was 10 years ago.
Look at you now.
And look at me now.
I'm obsessed with you.
Oh my gosh, you guys are like same relationship.
Oh yeah. They're talking about moving us into the same office, because right now I'm in a hallway, and I'm like, do they really want to do that? Like,
I don't know if they're.
We were in the same office, and we had to request barriers because we wouldn't stop chatting.
Yeah,
so
I think we'll be okay.
We'll see how it goes.
Oftentimes we talk about work.
Yeah,
like we're quite passionate about what we do, so our conversations always circle around work, but we were facing each other.
Oh yeah.
And so we were like, okay, we need a shelf or something.
Yeah, like she's just down the hallway from me, so I just yell at her. And so like if I stand up, I look into my one boss's office, then my other boss is there, and then I'm just yelling down the hallway. And sometimes I say things and I'm like, I should not have said that out loud today. But
I share an office with my boss, like with the executive director, right? And he is so gracious because like sharing an office with somebody else who you're both on the phone at the same time. And Emma's out in the other office, and there's a couch that is within my view, and she sits on it sometimes, and we just yell at each other too.
So this is normal. We all do it. Perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love that. We're not the only ones.
I feel so much better.
Better. Hey, Kate, did you know that 22% of people have dental anxiety?
I didn't know that, but that's not surprising since we both have dental anxiety. But do you know what helped me?
What?
Having Dr. Yasmin, the owner of Family Dental Center, on the podcast. She made me feel ready to go to the dentist again.
The Family Dental Center will help you with all your dental needs, including overcoming your dental anxiety, which may be holding you back from going to get your teeth checked.
They have locations in Belleville, Frankfurt, and Coburg, with a welcoming team to make you feel comfortable throughout your entire dental experience. FDC also has flexible hours to work around your schedule, plus they're taking new patients.
Book your appointment online today at FamilyDentalCenter.com or give your desired location a call. Follow the amazing FDC team on Instagram at FDCFamily. I feel like our questions is, what misconceptions do you believe Bay of Quinte residents have about the Graceland shelter? And I guess one thing I learned when I was there that I never thought about was, like, again, there's people in the shelter that have a job and, you know, they have a car, but they just aren't able to be housed at this point.
Yeah. And that, I would say, like, a lot to do with COVID or the housing crisis, right? So quite a significant influx of people when COVID hit, they were living with seniors or somebody else who owned the house. They were renting a room, and they had been there for years at a time. And then COVID hit, and it was like, well, I can't guarantee that you're not going to bring COVID home, so you have to leave.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. So we got a few people right at the beginning who had that exact same scenario, like 3 or 4 of them.
Wow.
And then as people from cities were trying to move, because, right at the beginning of COVID, there was an outflow of people from large cities into smaller communities such as the Quinte area.
Yeah.
Properties were being purchased up very quickly at really high rates. And then the housing pool really started to dwindle. So people who were trying to buy in Belleville from Belleville couldn't even afford housing because folks from Toronto were like, $1 million is nothing.
Yeah.
Where here, it's like that house is only worth like 200.
Yeah. I think it was, there's like areas that you always were like, oh, I could buy a house here. It's reasonably priced, like, and now you're like, that's double what I would be willing to pay for that. But okay.
So then that pool really shrunk for people looking for housing. So then they had to go to apartments, which really shrunk the pool for people looking for apartments, which then they had to start looking for rooms. And it was this massive trickle-down effect to then lots of folks not being able to remain housed.
Mm-hmm. That's wild, and I feel like a lot of people wouldn't even know that was happening.
Yeah, it wasn't something that was like super advertised as like this is news that is happening and
crazy.
Yeah,
that.
Yeah, well, because I think what people aren't understanding is they're just like, oh, like since the shelter started here, it's like now there's so many more. And it's like, that's not how
Go, Emma. I see that.
As soon as this question came up, I was like, can we finally debunk this myth?
Okay, yeah. Honestly, because I see this.
Debunk this myth for Quinn.
I'm going to shout out Belleville neighbors again because I see this quite frequently. And this one's for you, Belleville neighbors.
Okay, let's hear it, Emma.
I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. I don't think that anyone who is experiencing homelessness in another city filled with resources is going, you know where I really want to go?
Belleville.
Belleville. We are so limited in our resources here. There is no buses bringing people here. However, when people are coming here, Ashley, you can correct me, it's either 70 or 77% of the homeless population within Belleville either has always been here or lived here before. So when people are coming, now that we have the shelter, they can finally move back and work on that relationship with their mom who lives here, where before they were forced to move out.
Yeah.
So many of the people who it seems like there's more people. I mean, number one, this was their home and they deserve to be here too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, this is where they want to be.
Yeah. A prime example that I always use to kind of identify why people are coming back to Belleville is like, when you're in a life crisis, where do you go?
My mom.
Your mom, your friends. You go to the people that you know are supportive of you. And so when we see people who have maybe not lived in Belleville for 10 to 15 years finally coming back because they know now that there's a place that they can stay and their family's here and their support system's here.
Yeah.
And they've only been able to come and stay for a couple days and then have to go back. And so, it's 70, something percent of people who are staying at the shelter, who have stayed at the shelter, are from Belleville. That other 25% was successfully diverted or provide, like they found housing within Belleville really fast. They were diverted back to their home community because they were only here as a transient person, or they came here.
Because didn't you guys help get someone like back out east or
All the
Many
time.
people, many people.
Okay.
Yeah, we like Emma did all the work with Hastings County.
Yeah, shout out to Hastings County for their financial support with people, definitely. Yeah, that story in particular, that guy, so he ended up, I'll try and make it quick because I could talk about him for a long time, but he came out here to care for his family who had COVID and were unwell, and those mother and father eventually passed. He was living in the uncle's house. The house was willed to the niece who he didn't get along with, so he ended up homeless in a province he's never lived in.
Oh my God.
Right? Never experienced homelessness in his life.
And has a home address in Nova Scotia. And couldn't get back. So
Oh my gosh.
we did, and that's one of those cases, right, of where those natural supports are in other places. So we did get him back to Nova Scotia, and he was quarantining in an RV in Cape Breton and texting us pictures of the river.
Yeah.
People have gone to
So
Nova
it's all
Scotia.
the, I think, too, that comes back to the misconceptions. I think people have it in their mind like, oh, it's just these, like, mentally ill or
It's all
addicts,
crackheads,
on the
quote unquote.
street.
Yeah.
But it's and even if it is, everyone deserves a place to rest at night.
Right.
But I think that's part of it. People are like that. Those are the only people you're helping, but you're helping so much more than that.
Absolutely.
We have a full-time loyalist student right now who's
Yes.
staying with us, and we have people who have been working full-time and maintained those jobs for over a year and just can't compete with the market.
We have one story of a dad who drove his kid to school every day. Right? Like, these are also the people that we're supporting. Sure, there are people who have substance use disorder, they have a mental illness or mental disease, like, or they're mentally unwell due to trauma. And, like, something that we always say is, like, experiencing homelessness, the first night is traumatic. So you immediately have trauma, even if you've never experienced trauma in your whole entire life. And trauma changes the brain.
Yeah.
Oh, it does.
Changes your chemistry.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right?
I know so much about this.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it changes you as a person.
Yeah.
And then like getting out of that and like working through it is also like a whole journey. So it's like if you don't have like, you know, cold, like warm socks and like a pillow, like how are you expected to like get through this trauma?
Yeah. And even like correlating that to physical health, because it's so much easier for people to identify the need to support people with the physical health needs. You know, you and I, we could get a cold. And what do? We go to bed, we take some medicine, we stay home, get ourselves better, go to work the next day because, you know, 24-hour cold, whatever. But our folks who don't have that option have to stay outside or they have to at least walk from the shelter to the drop-in, to the meal program, to an appointment. So they're outside in the middle of winter quite frequently. And so then that cold turns into a consistent, persistent cold, and then they end up in the hospital. They have the pneumonia, and then they end up in the hospital because they've got nowhere to go. And now we're using resources that we never should have been using in the first place. And so even financially, when you think of, you know, housing being an option, and this is a really old stat from 2018, which is so long ago now.
Feels like a lifetime.
Right? But they Homeless Hub did a financial data collection on how much it costs the government to pay for one person who is experiencing homelessness. And basically it's like $300,000 a year for one person to experience homelessness because we're counting the shelter beds, the meal programs, in and out of hospital, going through the justice system, any social services, social assistance, anything like that. So it's about $300,000 per person.
You know what's cheaper?
Housing. Like even if
It's like
guaranteed
Jeopardy
income,
in here.
right?
Guaranteed, yeah.
That guaranteed income thing that was going on in Hamilton.
Yes.
Like, it's like, okay, so now I know I'm going to get, you know, X amount of dollars, I can pay my rent. And it's like, or, you know, it's like I can buy food.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I mean, it's like, that must have been a game changer for so many people.
Yes. Yeah. And that is like, even if you just boil it down to housing, to pay for a place, even if the government is the only people paying for this apartment, let alone somebody with a part-time job, you know, and then subsidizing
It's still
from
less than
it's still less. Like with a room
like
rental,
they could buy a house.
Yes.
I never knew this. Like it just
And again, that's
my mind is
2018,
like-
so it's probably expanded at this
more.
point.
And it's like, so now my brain is going. Because I'm
Going,
like,
I love this.
what the hell is the government doing?
Not bad.
Like, but like, honestly, it's just like, and now, like,
Welcome to our world.
I have so many questions. Doug Ford,
Where are you calling?
please help me
why are our phone
understand
lines
what
not
is going
going
on. So you're spending more money per person when it's actually cheaper to just support people.
So what we always say about like the Grace Inn is that we're not a pretty agency. The work that we do is not pretty. It is working with some of the hardest populations. There's a lot of aggression. Substance use is not pretty. Mental illness is not pretty. And so when you are a government agency who your whole point is to get votes, well, what's
doesn't
going to
look
get you better
pretty.
votes, right? Like what's going to look prettier? Putting in this beautiful park or housing 3,000 people.
Yeah.
It's probably going to cost the same, but this is
people
going to
love
get you
a
the votes
park.
because these 3,000 people aren't going to vote.
I just have so many eye rolls and no one can see them, but I'm eye rolling a lot over here. It baffles my mind because there are fixes, but it's not going to happen. I think one of our past guests, Squiggy, who's a chef, and he's very social, like he's an activist, a social activist, and he posted a thing about how I think it's like the mayor of Toronto is putting like $3 million or something.
$50 million
There it
into
is.
police.
Into police. And he's like, oh, you know, because that'll help with like the homelessness, the food shortage, like all these other things.
Never mind the police aggression.
Yeah.
Right.
So
No, we're not going to talk about
we're
that.
not going to talk about it.
Let's train. And we like one of our volunteer programs is and it's been fairly successful with the 2 that we've done it with. But guys and gals trying to get into policing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
They're required to volunteer.
Oh.
And so when they volunteer, when they come to us and say, hey, I'm attempting to get into policing, I want to volunteer, I love that because we can put them right in with our guests so that now they see how our staff are kind and they get a way better response, how mental unwellness and illness really truly affects people. And then they come out with a better outlook on it. And so then we've been able to support mentally aware and emotionally present police officers in our community.
That's amazing.
Love that.
I keep saying that's amazing today, but that is
just
truly amazing.
Mandatory.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just so they actually have like the empathy and the ability to be able to see it from where you guys are.
Well, and one of our staff members was, when we did have security for a brief period of time, working full-time for the security agency. And security is a bit more loud and big because they have to be. And he now works full-time with us because after kind of seeing the difference in the way that these people can be treated, and like Ashley said, how you can get so much further with that kindness. He kind of switched gears and now he's in leadership at the shelter.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's been quite a journey from the first time we opened to now. Like when we first opened, it was 4 of us.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
When we opened, we had 7 guests stay that night. We were like, they're going to be busting down our doors. And we had 7 people, which was great. It was a great soft open. It only took 2 weeks for us to be full. And there were... Well, we had 6 staff members and 3 members of leadership. So the first night we opened, December 16th, 2019, we were ready. We were like, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to open to people for a shelter in Belleville. And we only had our main floor open. We actually didn't open our basement at that time because we didn't have enough staff. Oh my God. So when we brought people in, I think we kept our basement closed for 2 or 3 weeks. So we were serving breakfast right in our intake area, and
which is small. It's not
small.
Huge.
This was pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID,
okay.
Yeah, I remember saying to somebody, like, you have to remove your bandana. We need to see your face. And then, like, 3 weeks later, it was like, you need to put that mask on. I don't want to see your face.
Oh, my goodness. I didn't even, like, put together those dates.
Yeah.
Like, you guys opened right before COVID.
Yeah, we were 3 months to the day. Because we went into lockdown March 16th.
Holy shit.
Well, and Ashley always says, I wasn't here at the time, but that, like, the shelter finally got its sea legs and then the storm hit.
Yeah.
And we've only been in COVID ever since.
Yeah.
So what's it like coming out of COVID? Well, are we allowed to say that? I feel like we're coming out of it, right?
We're still not out of it, right? Like, because we're still a communal living.
Okay.
We're still a vulnerable population. Something else that we do, I guess we didn't really talk about the rest of the stuff that we do.
Yeah, let's. Sorry, we got distracted.
I love it. We run the isolation site for all of Hastings County.
I didn't
Wait,
know that.
what?
Yeah.
All of Hastings
All
County.
of Hastings County. So anyone experiencing what is it? Anyone experiencing homelessness due to COVID, or who is homeless with COVID, can stay at our site. So we first opened our COVID site with Hastings County out of the Y, on the east end, and then we moved from there to the Old Quinny High School.
Nice.
And we were in there for about a year. Yeah, it was something. It was, we had there was quite a few people that went through that one. And then in February of 2022, we got a modular unit put into our back parking lot. And so it can hold only 4 people that isolate at the same time. But we've never had 4 people in there at once. So that has been a huge blessing, because I don't know what it would look like with 4 people in there. COVID positive.
Yeah.
It's just a small space. There are a couple bathrooms and a couple
Are there like
rooms.
barriers?
There are walls between everybody.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But that's about it. Like, there's nothing in there. We just got internet a few months ago. So it's, and they have to be in there for 10 days to come back to the shelter.
Oh.
Yeah. So I haven't received an update from public health yet that they're reducing it from 10 days. So communal living is still 10 days.
Wow.
So they can't come back into the shelter for 10 straight days. And yeah, so that's one. And then we just started taking over the administration of the emergency after hours line.
So what's that?
Yeah, so that one, it's for all of Hastings County. So we're we're doing the admin. It's still kind of owned by Hastings County, but essentially once all of those daytime businesses close, so around 4:30, there's a phone number that anyone in Hastings County can call if they're experiencing homelessness to get connected to supports. So a lot of that time it looks like giving them transportation to a safe address, giving them other referrals or resources. Occasionally it'll be providing them a hotel if it makes sense.
Yeah, and that's like the last option.
And then would they also be able to come to the shelter then?
Yeah, so transportation to the shelter, or a lot of the times, like sometimes people say, you know, I'm homeless, but I can stay with my aunt who's maybe in, I don't know, Napanee, and we can provide them that transportation, and then they can stay there long term, and boom, they're kind of getting
I guess
supports.
it's those things I've never had to think about. You know, having, and it's not like Belleville is the most public transportation city.
Right.
So I could, it's things I've never thought about, like just getting transportation to a site, and then you do have a place to stay.
Yeah.
I don't know if like a lot of people think about those other things that you guys are doing.
Well, yeah, and there was someone just last week who moved here with her boyfriend from Alberta. The relationship dissolved, but her family was like, please come home, and she just couldn't get out there.
Yeah.
So she had everything she needed, but she was staying at the shelter. Again, we did get her back out there, so it's great, and she's home.
That's good.
But it's so, these things that maybe you're not thinking about in your day-to-day are so disruptive for other people.
Yeah.
I'm just like in awe about the work that you guys do. It's like you guys are like angels.
And you're both
Am I gonna
so
cry
passionate
again?
about it.
Podcast,
maybe fourth cry on the pod. Can we talk about why? Because you say you have more beds for male identifying people.
Yeah.
And I just want people to know why that is, because it's not like you're discriminating against the women identifying people.
No, we would love more female beds. Like, actually, we would love just more small capacity shelters around Hastings County. But the reason that we have more beds for males or male identifying than we do for female identifying is because there are a few factors. So one, there are a few more resources for females than there are for males. So if you're fleeing domestic violence, there are domestic violence shelters. So that takes you right out of the shelter system and into that. There are more resources for families. So quite often mothers are the ones caring for children. So CAS can take care of that.
Okay.
And just a heads up for us ladies, we are much easier to live together with. I always say, like, I can always forgive being called a name, but a broken nose is much harder to forgive.
Hard. It's there for a while.
Yeah, and so when you're working or trying to support someone who is struggling with their mental health, or they're struggling with their substance use, or they, you know, a variety of different things, aggression takes over at times because it's one of our basic instincts is you know, fight, flight, or
fight, flight, freeze.
And freeze, all
so
of the
many.
four. So our basic instincts take over, and that could prevent housing. And so that's, you know, there are often less females who are experiencing street homelessness than there are males. And another kind of an easier way to think about it as a contributing factor is a lot of our folks go through the justice system. And so if I am housed in Toronto and I pay rent and I'm living in Toronto, but I did something that caught a charge here in Belleville, the police are going to pick me up from Toronto. They're going to drive me to Belleville, drop me off with no resources, and I have to deal with my charge here in Belleville.
Sorry, what?
Yeah. And then
I didn't know that.
So, well, that explains why people think that Toronto is just like busing people in.
Right.
But it's like, no, they're dealing with
There's
a thing that they
and they
need to
can't
do.
leave until that charge is dealt with. So that's just a piece of it. That's not the whole pie. That's like one
small slice.
Yeah. And so you look at our justice system, and primarily men, and then the secondary population is our females. And so it's the same thing with homelessness. It's primarily men, less resources, more violent aggression when there is that, and men can take care of their safety a lot easier than females do. So anyone who's in survival sex work, they can live with their Johns, or they room together for safety, where men, again, a lot lower in survival sex work, so they're not necessarily staying with people who are paying for their services. There's just a lot of examples of why there are more men.
I have so many more questions for you guys, but I don't know how long you have. But how was your 3-year anniversary open house? Can you tell us about that?
It was amazing. It was so good.
Yeah, I think I think we had probably about 300 people through the door.
Over 300 people, yeah.
And our primary focus of doing that open house was education. Like, that's kind of the heart of what we wanted. We wanted to let people in and let them see what we were doing. And we had everyone from, like, families educating their children to curious neighbors to church groups to the mayor and people on city council. Like, we really covered kind of everyone in every walk of life.
Yeah. The mayor from Quinte West came.
Wow.
The Belleville mayor came, I want to say the Tweed mayor came.
Great support. Great turnout.
A lot. And we are the only homeless shelter in the whole county.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that our community representatives are supportive of this as well, because it is their folks who are coming to us. It's, people from Bancroft, and it's not as frequent because they want to stay in their own community. But we do support all the way up to Bancroft.
And we were lucky enough to have a current guest of the shelter who was there, and he was kind of offering his lived experience. And this person is someone that gets mistaken for staff all the time at the shelter. He's incredibly well dressed, well spoken, and not the person that you picture when you think of a homeless person, maybe. So it was so amazing for people to be touring through the building and stop to chat with this guy and him say, well, no, I'm actually sleeping in this bed tonight.
Wow.
Right? And kind of give them that perspective. And we had another past guest who's now in transitional housing down in the basement, kind of sharing her story as well. So it was really interactive for people to really see what we're doing.
It was this really cool self-guided tour. We had staff positioned in every room to kind of talk about that space and then answer questions. And it was just such a wonderful time to engage with the community, because we hadn't had that opportunity because we were only open for 3 months and then COVID, so everything shut down. And so this was our not only was it our 3rd year anniversary, but it was our kind of grand public opening to welcome people in to see what we do. And we got a lot of shocked people coming, and I didn't realize you did that. And I think you guys did that as well when you walked through the shelter.
It's just very eye-opening. And I guess, personally, I knew there was a shelter. I have friends that work in, social work and outreach, but I never really knew what Grace Inn was doing or how it all worked. So for me, it was just, so eye-opening, and I learned so much, and you two are both so passionate about it. And then I immediately, I haven't done it yet, but I texted my partner and I was like, we should volunteer here. And so I am still I looked at the form today. And so that kind of takes me, how can people get involved with the Grace Inn shelter and volunteer?
Yeah, so there's a few different opportunities. There's, day volunteering, which is kind of housekeeping stuff, so laundry, cleaning. We do have a very consistent volunteer who comes in every Wednesday to cook for our guests, and so more of that would be wonderful.
I love cooking.
Yeah, I'm I'll cook.
So midday. My mom comes in every Thursday.
Oh, I love that.
Cute.
She's so lovely. She is the best at folding fitted sheets.
She's the only one who does it right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The rest of our
There's a
staff
trick.
did roll it up into a ball and shove it.
Jeanette's very good at folding.
Okay.
So maybe I'll get her on board.
Fitted sheets is a special skill that you get.
Yeah.
Once you hit a certain mom level.
I'm not there yet.
I got it.
She unwrapped it and then just re-wrapped it the way that she unfolded it from opening it, when she bought it. And that's how she taught herself. I was like, oh, my mom was a military kid. That's how she knows. And then she's like, no. I opened the package and I refolded it the same way. And I was like, okay.
Crazy.
Yeah, I know.
Who thinks of doing that?
Right?
Good for her. Okay,
know.
sorry.
Whatever.
And if someone's looking for kind of a one-time commitment, we do have the coldest night of the year walk.
Yeah, the coldest night of the year. Tell us about it.
So, coldest night of the year. This is our second time running it ourselves. It's on February 25th. Sign up on cyon.ca.
CNOY.
Oh, gosh.
We'll share it in the show notes.
Perfect.
So
Coldest night of year.
Okay.
Yeah, CNOY. What did I say? CYON?
Something like that.
Don't
Coldest
worry,
year
guys.
of the night.
Check the show notes.
Yeah.
We'll link it.
Perfect. Thanks. And it's from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. There are 2 different distances that you can walk. So there's a 2K walk and a 5K walk. Always recommend the 2K for the families, 5K for the adventurous ones. Show up. If you raise more than $150, you get a hat.
What?
This beautiful gray hat with a pom-pom. With a pom-pom
With
right
a
on top.
pom-pom.
Yeah. Last year it was this yellow hat, this vibrant yellow hat.
Yeah, I saw those pictures.
Yes. And actually last year we got mistaken for like Ukraine support.
Okay.
Oh, it was the
which
same time.
not a bad thing.
No.
We support Ukraine.
Yeah.
But it was I thought it was a protest.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Oh no.
No, we're just walking.
Yeah. And so the whole goal is to have folks experience a little snippet of what it's like to experience homelessness, because our folks have to walk everywhere, right? Unless they have a car, which is very rare, they have to walk everywhere. So this is one of those opportunities where it's like, yes, it is really cold. It is a long walk. But at the end, there are refreshments. I think there's going to be some chili. Yeah, I think Starbucks is going to be there serving coffee.
Wow.
And I know last year we definitely had some like fires going.
Oh, so it's an event.
It's an event. And we
I'm
always
gonna
say,
shout out
Yeah.
Starboard. Our company has a team doing it.
Yes.
So we're gonna be linking how you can sponsor our team. Please give us your money.
You can also sponsor the Grayson staff team.
We'll link both. You
Perfect.
choose or do both.
Yeah,
I like
do
that.
both.
I'll sponsor you if
Create
you
your
sponsor
own
me.
team.
Absolutely.
Create
Yes.
your own team.
Yes.
You go walk it.
Yeah, I say like it's a really good opportunity to get your coworkers involved, your family involved, or your friend group involved. And it's one night out of an entire year that not only do you feel great about yourself, but you're doing something about it. Like you're going, you're seeing the shelter, you're experiencing a bit of the walk, and then you get to hang out with just a bunch of really cool people.
That's
like our
great.
staff.
Yeah, that's you guys.
Yeah,
that's what
totally
I'm
there.
going for. That's really cool. It's a cool event. We're going to link everything
Awesome.
for that event so people can get involved or give either of us money.
Yes, yeah, perfect. And then you can also volunteer.
At the walk.
At the walk.
Okay.
So yeah, so especially those high school students who need hours to graduate, you can volunteer leading up to the walk and
Okay.
at the walk. So yeah, so they could be sign-in table, serving chili.
Okay.
There are a few checkpoints along the walks so that people can check in and get water. So really, really good opportunity for teenagers to get involved.
I have one of those.
Yeah, where's your kid? I was like, send her out
Send
there.
them our way.
You guys have been amazing. I feel like I'm sure we missed so many things. We're probably going to have you
Is there
back.
anything you guys want to like add?
Yeah, anything else?
I don't think so. I don't know. Emma, you look like you're
I don't know. I know. Like I was driving here and I was like, "What are those points that I want? Like we need to hit on this."
Yeah.
And now they're a blank. I don't know. I mean, Ashley and I can talk about the shelter
Oh my
for
gosh,
hours.
yeah.
Like we routinely have to be stopped because we're so obsessed with the work that we do.
You are, and
I'm
that's
obsessed
what
with the
I
work you
love. Like just hearing you both speak about it, there's just so much passion, and that gives me passion about it. So I'm like, it makes me want to get involved.
You should. And like the thing is, especially with this population, like there's so much grace, and the name grace it's not a person's name. It is the act of giving grace. It's the act of 1,000 chances. We're not going to stop serving somebody just because they messed up or whatever, what we deem as a mess up. But when you change your thought process to understand like that these are human beings, that these are people's children or people's parents, people's siblings, like we really can change the way that we look at people. Someone who's struggling with substance use disorder, it's not always a choice. It's not always something that was their choice in the first place. And sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. And so, giving that piece of grace to somebody who you don't know, experiencing homelessness or not, right? Like I think in this day and age, there's so much going on in this world right now that is not great, that we can provide an opportunity just by smiling at somebody, making eye contact.
Making me cry today, but like in a fun way.
People say all the time, like when I get the chance to talk about work, either in my personal or professional life, and they're kind of like, what can I do now? And I'm not going to say buy a house and rent it out to people, but like Ashley just said, like just when you see someone who maybe is panhandling, instead of avoiding eye contact, you don't have to give them your bank pin, but maybe just a smile and a nod.
Yeah.
Right? Acknowledge that people
Acknowledge
are
them.
here and are worthy of.
Yeah. And a throwback to Emma's story of like, why that guy felt so much support from the place that she worked at in Newfoundland was because, we give them their humanity back. And not we, but like, people who actively go out of their way to say hi or nod or make eye contact. That's giving dignity and humanity back to somebody who's had it taken away. Folks experiencing homelessness, it's automatic stigmatization, it's automatic judgment. You must have made a mistake in your life. For those uneducated, right? Like it's obviously their mistake, but that's not always the case.
Yeah.
And that is something that, we strive so hard to do is always say somebody's name. The second that we learn their name, we start using it immediately over and over because I don't know about if you guys know this, but yeah, it's a psychological trick.
Oh.
People will like you better the more you use their name.
Crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So because we feel cared about, we feel like we are always a little bit vain in ourselves. Oh my gosh, they're calling my name out. And so when we say somebody's name, it's builds rapport so much quicker. And so we have have very few violent acts at the shelter.
Yeah.
We have very few, substance use issues in the shelter, very few.
Well, the guests are so protective of that space, right? Like it's the one space that they have where they can come in and they don't have to have that bravado and that loud, boisterous attitude they need to keep them safe when they're outside.
Yeah.
They can come inside and just kind of
Like exhale.
Yeah. Something that our former manager of operations used to say, and it sounds so funny, but when you see a guy strip down to his boxers to go to bed, you know that he trusts the space.
It's true, yeah.
Right? Because he's super vulnerable. He doesn't have any clothes on, besides boxers, very vulnerable to allow yourself to take off your shoes even. So you're not prepared to run away or you're not prepared to fight.
Yeah, I think my people in my life, they are always so worried that I work with the homeless population. And I say, are you kidding? I'm the safest person in Belleville because our guests are so protective of us in this space. If anything were to happen and if one guest is coming at one of our team members, there's 3 more rolling up their sleeves ready to protect that person.
And we don't let that happen.
Yeah. No, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
They want to. So our guests are some of the kindest people we know.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. See, like we were trying to close out and we just started talking.
Even now, like I'm like trying to process the whole it's like, okay, so like you're feeling safe and it's like, okay, so that's like a level of like relaxation that these people probably haven't had in a really long time.
Yeah.
So it's like you think about all these, especially in winter, it's like all these things.
Yeah.
It's like you get so stressed and stuff, and then it's just like to be able to have somewhere safe, comfortable and warm to just like relax, like just like to chill is probably so like it's like life-changing for your mental health, you know what I mean? Like, so it's like, of course people who are experiencing homelessness have like mental health issues. I would too. Like everything's wet and cold all the time. Like that
I hate the winter, and I can't even imagine being outside all the time.
What items could people donate to the shelter? Like, what items do you need regularly or like to have, I guess?
Yeah. So our evening meal program is all donation-based. So, canned tomato sauces.
Hot sauce. Our guests use more hot sauce than ketchup or butter.
Okay.
hot sauce.
Yeah. Oh,
so
yeah.
like just like Frank's
Yeah.
or like
Just any kind of, so hot sauce.
Yeah, we always keep a steady supply of
We're gonna
hot
have an
sauce.
influx
And
now.
coffee.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, right now, right this minute, we have run out of coffee.
I'll go get some on my lunch. Drop it off. Is there a brand that people like?
I think Kellogg's, is that the blue one? I don't drink coffee.
Oh,
I don't know what the blue one is. Folgers.
Maybe Maxwell.
No, Maxwell House.
yeah,
I'm a tea gal.
Okay.
Yeah, so sorry.
same.
Panicking over here.
Other donations, I mean, anything seasonally appropriate.
Because you have a full closet for people in the
little
basement.
boutique in the basement.
There's a little boutique
What
happening.
A good spot. So seasonally appropriate clothes, like Emma was saying, weather appropriate footwear.
Okay.
Hygiene products. Right now we are perfect with the amount of menstrual products. We don't need any more of those. We've got bins and bins and bins. But hygiene products outside of those.
Okay.
We don't need towels right now. What else are we looking for?
New underwear is always
yes.
such a treat.
Yeah.
Men, women, both.
Both.
Okay.
Yeah. Imagine like you not having a
just
next
like
pair of underwear to
Amazon
change.
package stuff to you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You guys have an Amazon wish list?
Yeah. Do you have an Amazon wish
Oh my
list?
gosh, I think somebody made one for us a long time ago, and I've never.
Thanks.
been
I have a
able to
big
find
brain.
it.
Yeah, right.
Marketing brain.
She went to school for the thing that she does.
Yeah. Can't you tell? It's crazy.
Genius.
This is how things just kind of pop
I love
up.
it.
Perfect. We'll get one out to you.
Yeah, cool.
And
Yeah, if you have one, share it and we'll share it too.
perfect. And then if for anybody else, like you can go right onto our website and hit the donate button.
Okay.
And there's a side to fill out for financial donations, but then right next to it is a list of items that we would need.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, and sometimes people ask kind of when they're making those financial donations, they're like, where's this money
Oh,
going?
yeah, that's-
And a large part of it is going to that supper meal program we were
Okay.
talking about.
Yeah. Cool.
We call it a snack just to be safe, but we usually are able to produce a pretty good supper out of it thanks
Wow.
to the community.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. And it's quite like fascinating. This community is the most supportive community ever.
Okay.
One of our staff members, and I also worked in London, but she worked out of a shelter in London. She's new to us as well. And she is blown away by the amount of donations that come to our door every single day.
Oh, good.
She's like, this never happened at the shelter I worked at. Never, ever. And here we are, like, anywhere between 2 to 10 times a day are we getting donations or calls for donations.
Yep, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And people should call before they make a donation,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yeah, just so that like we do have staff there majority of the time 24 hours a day with the exception of weekends.
Okay.
But because we're not an overnight shelter, we don't have guests in during the day
We're not a 24
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Don't worry, I'll edit it out. I'll edit
It's
it
so
out.
funny. This morning I was like, I couldn't get any words. And I'm like, I'm going to be on a podcast today.
Do you know
How
what
are
the
my
best
words?
thing is? I'm just like, I'll edit it out. I'll make us sound so good.
Amazing.
Don't worry.
Sorry, because we are an overnight shelter only, the only day support that we do for guests is by appointment only.
Okay.
So our staff are not necessarily needed at the shelter between 9 a.m. basically and 9 p.m. But we do often have staff there cleaning, supporting, but that doesn't guarantee that there's going to be a staff member there.
You two are amazing, and the work you're doing is
You
amazing.
guys are amazing.
No,
And I hope
you guys are seriously amazing.
Yeah. I think we both hope that just people hearing about this
Yeah.
through the podcast can just like shed light and break some sort
I've
of
learned
stigma.
so much.
Yeah.
Like so much that I thought you guys did. It's like way better.
Way better.
That's so
You know
nice
what I
to
mean?
hear.
It's like infinitely better than what I thought it was.
Yeah, and if people have more questions, like don't be shy. We love talking about what we do.
Yes.
So we're always eager to educate and
Yeah, and
about
like
it.
myself and our executive director Rob, we go and do speaking engagements all the time.
Oh,
Yeah.
fancy.
So like how we are running overtime here, I was only supposed to speak for half an hour on Saturday. I spoke for a full hour.
we never run over time. I'm always like, so sorry. We've talked for an hour and a half. I apologize, but because we can both talk too. So
Yeah.
like, if we get another
What a
talker, we're like,
great-
oops, sorry.
It happens.
Yeah.
But when
No,
you're passionate about what you do, it just like it doesn't feel like you're like
yeah, it's easy.
absolutely.
Going.
It's work.
It is.
But
It is
it's
work.
easy.
Yes, it is. It's easy for us because we love it, but it's a hard job emotionally. Like you really
Yeah.
have to care for yourself.
That when we had Girls Inc. on and they both do social work, what is your self-care trick? That's what we asked them too. How do you because you obviously have to look after yourself too. What do you do too?
I mean, for me, I had to work really hard at my on and off switch. I am really good now at kind of turning off when I leave. My dog Moose is my world. So
love a
Moose
dog.
is my self-care. Keeps me busy all the time.
What kind of dog is Moose?
Oh, he's a Labrador Retriever. Love him. 90 chunky pounds of love.
Oh, I love
boy.
that.
He's also our wellness officer at
He is.
Shiloh House.
So he goes to the transition house and the guys walk him and take him out and play with him. And it's so fun to see these men who at the shelter were like big and burly rolling around on the ground playing tug of war.
Yeah.
So yeah, Moose is part-time. He works at the house. He's my
we have
self-care
an
for sure.
emotional support.
I
dog
think you
here,
guys
too.
saw him one.
Yes.
Creed,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah.
Yes.
The best
so
welcoming
sweet.
committee I've seen in a long time.
Yeah. For my self-care, I do a lot of like hiking and walking and being outdoors, like nature bathing, forest bathing is like,
Nature bathing.
That sounds
know.
hip right now.
it is so hip.
It's trendy.
Yeah. No, nature has always just been my like go-to space. Like I have a ton of greenery in my house. So just being around plants, reading.
You are my people.
Yes.
Anytime someone comes on, we're like, are we going to be best friends now?
We are.
Probably,
You guys are stuck with
You guys are like same vibes as
That
us.
happened to us in my interview.
Oh my gosh,
For the shelter. I was like, I just lived here. I don't have any friends. And Ashley said, well, I'll be your friend. And here we are.
And now we're friends.
Love that. Perfect. Yeah. I feel like that's what I did too. We were like kind of friends, and now I'm like, we're now best friends.
you know my poop schedule.
I know so much about her. Like, yeah.
This conversation yesterday.
Yep.
People think it's not talked about. She
No.
watches every time. We have a secret poop bathroom in this office in the basement.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, going downstairs. See you later.
It's not secret.
Yeah, no, everyone knows. I'm like, when I see someone walking past that, I'm like, I don't know what you were doing down there. I'm like, it's not a secret.
I don't think it's necessarily a secret, but the best poop washroom in the shelter is the women's accessible washroom.
Is a
Hot tip for all our guests who are listening.
Yeah.
Also though, you're inaccessible. Like, are all shelters accessible, or is that somewhat special?
It depends on the building. Like if
okay.
they were grandfathered in, then they don't have to be accessible.
Oh, but now.
But yeah,
okay.
we are accessible, fully
Love
accessible.
that.
Yeah, we meet Ontario's minimum standards. Yeah, we've supported, the elderly with walkers, folks in wheelchairs, permanently in wheelchairs as well. All different.
God, could you imagine
Standards.
being like homeless, also disabled?
Yeah,
Like,
And is
how
it
much more
is it
difficult
common?
it must be.
Well, common in. I'm just trying to think of like over the 3 years that we've been open, we've had four different people in chairs.
I think so.
And then several people with walkers, lots of seniors. Like that's a population.
That's like very heart. Like, it's all heartbreaking, but that's especially heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those, like, I always say to our brand new staff who've never worked in this field, like, you have to build a glass wall. And I say a glass wall to protect yourself emotionally, because it is so in your face. You know, you are the front line working with those who are most vulnerable, but you still got to see it.
Yeah.
You can't just put a brick wall up and ignore everything. You got to put this glass wall up to protect yourself and to protect your guests. And so, yeah, we've got
83, I think, is the oldest we've seen.
Yeah.
Holy.
Yeah. And the youngest we've seen is 16. We don't support, like, our shelter does not have the capacity to support youth. Teenagers, 16, 17-year-olds, because it's just an entirely different support system that you need. We will do one-offs if there's absolutely zero places for them to go. But we can't, unfortunately, support youth. But yeah, the youngest is 16, the oldest is 83. We've got people who are terminally ill, cancer, or mostly just cancers that are the terminally. Oh my god! Yeah, terminal illnesses, and then
It's hard. I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Like, it's like these are like it's like these people have been like living forever. And it's like they deserve like the utmost respect, and like the fact that it's just like if they have nothing, and it's like, okay. Also, by the way, you're terminally ill.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, holy shit balls.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like these people really just deserve, like, you know, the basic needs.
Yeah.
You're both doing, and like everyone at the shelter you're doing amazing things.
Our team, like, we cannot say enough praise about our team.
Yeah, our
like,
team's incredible.
they are the strongest team ever. They so supportive of each other, let alone the guests, like incredibly supportive, protective of our guests. Like, we are super protective over them. You know, there are people who don't have the same view on homelessness. So we've had targeted attacks at the shelter on our guests.
Are you serious?
Yeah, by teenagers.
Ugh.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
It's like as if these people don't already have like
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Why would
shit's
teenage
happening.
What?
Because they don't understand when you're a teenager, your brain's not
You're
totally
young.
developed. Like you don't get it.
Yeah, but our team is dealing with, like, our frontline and our shift facilitators, they're dealing with all these really intense things, and then they come back for their next shift the next day and still have a smile. And even if that person was awful to them the day before, they have that grace to kind of, you know, welcome them back and continue to support them. So it's amazing. Like, the books and the movies that our team could write and film about their experiences are crazy
so
long, and they just keep going.
They really are. And to reflect back on when COVID hit, again, we were only just open, but our board of directors, you know, when everyone was told it was going to be 2 weeks, our board of directors was like, it's up to you guys. You get to make that decision whether or not you close, because we were just open. And every single team member said, no, we're here. We're here. Wow. We'll run. We will do what we can.
That gave me goosebumps.
It still gives me goosebumps, like, and I was there.
Yeah.
But they, like, and never, at one point, never, like, have our staff said, I can't do this anymore. Yeah. Never have they said, I will not do this anymore. You know, we've got staff fluctuating. It's a high turnover, you know, really hard emotionally, but we've got, you know, such a great group of people who are there every single night and who are there every single day. And they do, I'm going to reference Mean Girls because I've been referencing it so much, but they do the damn thing.
Nice. That's what I'm calling this episode. That's what I'm calling this episode. Thank you. You are truly,
you guys are incredible.
Amazing. Our catchphrase that we have given ourselves is that was amazing, and that was amazing. Thank you.
We're glad to be here.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah, we'll come back again.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
No, again. That was amazing. Again, like, they were amazing. There's no word.
And I'm just like, I don't know. It makes me want to do more for the community.
I think I am going to start volunteering at the Grace Inn because I love cooking. So I'm like, I can go cook. And I got to do a tour of the Grace Inn with Mark and Charity from 95.5 because Starboard Cares worked with Sleep Country, and we were able to donate mattresses, which went to the two males that moved out of transitional housing into their own apartment. And it is a beautiful space. Like, there is so much pride in that space, and what they're doing for the community is crazy.
So, like, when you think, like, homeless shelter, it's not what you're thinking. It's not, like, a stereotypical, like...
No, and, like, every bed has its own area. Yeah. Like, the door, there's no door. Like, obviously it's open, but it's just that dignity, and I think they said that a lot, and that's part of Grace Inn's whole, like, theme? No.
Like, their
mandate.
mission.
Yeah, their mission. Is like to keep the dignity of their guests. So.
I love also that they call them guests, and they're not like, you know, it makes, I don't know, it's just, these are people too.
They are.
And I think that they really try to enforce that. Be like,
yeah. And some things I didn't think about was, you know, the time horizon they talked about. Yeah. Like, how do you think of long term when, like, you just have to think of, like, basic survival?
Yeah. You can't. Like, because it doesn't, you know, next week doesn't matter. It's
and you're going through trauma, and, you know, there's so many things. So if you can help out in any way with Grace Inn volunteering, donating, I dropped off coffee last week after we recorded.
It's like, okay, so part of me has, like, warm and fuzzies about, like, the things that people are doing, and then the other part of me is really pissed.
Why?
Because I'm so mad. I'm going to cry again. I'm so mad that the government can see these things happening and they're not doing anything. Like, they do not give a shit.
The statistic that boggled my mind is, like, it costs the government, like, $300,000 a year for potentially one unhoused person. Yeah. And I'm like, just
buy them a house.
Buy them a house.
And
this could be...
You buy a house for $350 and you can house, you know, 4 or 5 people.
Yeah. So if you were one of those people who thought, one, Grace Inn was, like, people were dropping off unhoused people in Belleville.
That's not a thing.
Now you know that's not a thing. You know that people's circumstances, it's not by choice. Shit happens.
It could happen to you. And you could be very comfortable.
Jeanette and I'm going to open up. Like, we were suddenly kicked out of a house that we had lived in. Mm-hmm. And because of my parents, that's the only reason we had a house to go to.
Yeah.
And Jeanette even says now, like, I don't know where I would have gone. Like, unless you have family and the means to get to that family, like anything could happen. Yeah. So I think it's just not saying that my problems are anything like.
No, but
like,
at the same time, like if you think about it, like even people who have a full-time job and are renting. So it's like, you know, what if the landlord needs to move into the house?
Yeah.
And then they're trying to find something in the rental market. And now rent is now, you know, $2,500.
Yeah.
And these people work, you know, it's a couple, they work full time, but it's minimum wage.
Yeah. You're done.
You're barely surviving. And it's like, it takes literally one bad thing to happen, like your car breaking down or, you know, a hydro bill to be too high or something. And then if you start to spiral.
It's a cycle.
So it's like, it's not just people who are, you know, like who have addiction problems or mental health problems. Like there's like legitimately like families living in Airbnbs right now.
Yeah.
And motels.
Yeah.
Like, and that's infinitely more expensive than renting.
Yeah, but it's just if you say you don't look good on paper.
I don't look good on paper.
I didn't look good on paper either.
You put my money, my debt, my credit.
Stop tapping the table.
Sorry. I know. It's your thing. But if you look at all the things, it's just like, yeah, it's like, okay, I support 2 kids.
Yeah.
I have 1 income.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like I have all these things and it's like on paper, it looks like shit.
Yeah.
You know, I made some very poor choices in my 20s. So my credit score wasn't the greatest until recently.
Again, I've said it once, I'll say it again. They need to teach budgeting in high school.
Yeah.
Because I didn't teach myself to budget until I was like 21 or something. And then
literally I was 34.
Yeah.
I'm 35.
I think my mom scared the shit out of me about it. So
yeah,
I learned to do it. I'm still not great at it, but I try.
I budgeted it in my $10 a day Starbucks.
I love that. What is mine? Eating out, like when I look at my budget, like food is my kryptonite. Like I spend too much on eating out, but I love it. I need to treat myself.
Well, my thing is, it's Starbucks and Tim Hortons down the road for lunch.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to learn to meal prep. Sorry, we got off track there for a little
Anyways,
bit.
I went from being real pissed to sandwiches.
I do love sandwiches.
I mean,
but it's literally, so you can drop off donations. I believe we'll have a link to their page, and there should be a list of things,
on their
items
socials.
They need. You have to call before you drop off just to make sure someone's there. I did it last week. It was super easy. You just call. They say they're there. You go, you ring the bell, and they grab your donation from you. You can volunteer to like clean during the day, do laundry, make meals. The coldest night of the year is
the 25th of February.
25th of February. Starboard, our company has a team. And then the Grace
donate to our team.
Yeah, we'll
support us and
link
our team.
in the bio.
Link in bio.
Or you can just donate to the Grace Inn team, of course.
Yeah, I don't care who you donate to.
Just donate.
Like, if you do, let us know.
Yeah, you can also volunteer for that event.
Yes.
So if your kids need volunteer hours, sign them up. And should we do some of our shout outs of things we have coming up?
Yes.
Bingo.
Bingo. Bingo.
Bingo. Bingo. Like Pengo. Bingo. Do you love that? It's on Galentine's Day, Monday, February 13th. With Kira Reed from the Grange Winery.
It's going to be so great.
I'm so excited.
I'm going to be there. Katie's going to be there. Kira's going to be there.
My mom's going to be there.
Martha's going to be there, and she's a party.
She's fun. So please get your tickets so that we can prove to our bosses this will work.
My sister's going to be there.
Oh, sick.
Has she bought a ticket yet? No.
Come on, Mel.
She doesn't listen to the podcast, so.
Come on. Rude. Jeanette will probably be there. You can see her sick mullet if she turns her camera on. We have bingo prizes from Saigon Wellington, the main character Picton, and the Beauty Collective.
And if you haven't been to any of those places, you are missing out because the team I've never been to the main character.
Me neither. I want to go, yeah.
But I've been to the Beauty Collective many times, and they are wonderful. And I mean, Saigon is just like,
so fun.
I'm still floored.
Kira was just at Saigon, and she held the restaurant baby. It's so cute. I know. Full circle, right?
I wish it wasn't snowing because I would go out there today and be like, I just want to hold the restaurant baby.
Yeah, can I hang out with the kids? And then we have, if you buy a ticket, you're entered into a door prize, I guess.
Door prize.
A Zoom prize for some of our merch. And I think there might be like a surprise.
There might be.
I don't know.
Maybe.
And then speaking of merch, buy our merch.
Not at all aggressive.
Please.
Anyway, so we got all this merch. And it's adorable.
It's so cute. I'm wearing a sweater right now, a hoodie.
I think I might
so
get
comfy,
one of
cozy.
the oat crew necks. Yeah.
My mom wants one. I actually have to go take her one. So
I counted that in the stock.
perfect. So you can get that on our website, which in my mind is fully functional at this point.
Yeah, I'm like dealing with this issue where like on the mobile site, the menu bar has yellow lettering
Weird.
in all the buttons, which is super gross looking. But I promise to you, if you look at it on desktop, it looks real pretty.
Real pretty. We upload episodes to it. We have our events page where you can buy bingo tickets. We have our sponsorship page.
And if you... Okay, big shout out to Family Dental Center.
Big family dental
Family Dental shout out.
Family dental.
So,
Yeah.
can I tell you a secret?
Yeah.
I fucked up this week.
You missed your appointment.
I missed my appointment.
You know what? It's been a week.
I didn't call to cancel. I forgot.
We are so sorry.
Like, straight up, like, there is a voicemail on my phone that I can't check because I know I'm going to feel awful.
so sorry.
But it's sitting on my phone, and it's there, and I
Dr.
swear...
Yasmin, don't be mad.
Please don't. And it was with her, too. God damn it. It was just a
Things
morning,
happen,
I
yeah.
promise.
It's not her every day.
No,
She's coming back.
It is
I
pretty much
know. Oh, what a week.
I promise I'm going to be
thank
less of
you.
a shitty person.
You're not a shitty person. Like, things happen. Thank you, Family Dental Center and Dr. Yasmin, for sponsoring us this month. And if you want to sponsor us, check out our sponsorship package. It's pretty sick.
Yeah.
Thank you to...
You?
No, our
No, I'm going to thank you.
I'm going to thank you. No, I'm on board Quinty.
Oh my gosh, Onboard Grazing Co.
Harley for doing a giveaway for us of a beautiful grazing box for
I
two.
was floored. I still like dream about that grazing box.
was
Those
so
grapes were so good.
They were like the best grapes I've ever eaten in my life. And I don't like grapes normally. So thank
And
you for everyone
blackberries.
who played. I'm sure we'll have more giveaways.
I'm sure eventually
coming
they'll
up.
come.
And
If you want to do a giveaway with us,
let us know.
let us know.
And thank you to everyone who just keeps supporting us and following us and
Listening to the
episodes. It's truly flooring to two females who have crippling anxiety and self-saboteurs. So we really appreciate it.
That's like the one thing I'm just kind of like, why are you listening to us?
Every time I look at our insights, I'm like, 100 people listened to our first episode, like over 100 people. I was like, what? That's just us talking. I know. It's chaos.
Well, it's funny because Quiggy said that actually in our DMs the other week. He was like, remember to tell the stories about you guys.
Oh,
And I'm just kind of
Weird.
like, I don't think you want to hear about my life right now.
maybe we have to do like a just us episode soon.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a solo. Or
And
a
I'm
duo.
going, ooh, a duo. I'm going on vacation in a bit. So
You are going on vacation. I still don't know where you're going. I thought you were going to Florida.
we're going to Costa Rica.
Stop
we
it.
booked our flight.
That's exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited. We need it. So
You deserve an actual vacation.
yeah, I
'Cause
booked a vacation in the fall. We didn't go. And
You booked this one, moved like 2 or 3 times.
This is like our original dates were set in, so I'm excited. I think it's gonna be.
So you're going in March or are you going in February?
We're going in March.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're gonna be away the first 2 weeks of March, but there'll still be episodes because time machine.
Time machine.
Time machine.
And we have another thing coming up, possibly, that we haven't even started planning.
What is it? My favorite. I'm like,
The thing at the... over there.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
I get to make a PowerPoint.
Katie gets to make a PowerPoint.
I love PowerPoint
And,
spreadsheets.
So that's a teaser.
That's a teaser. You'll probably know more next week. I have to send an email today.
Yeah.
That's really all I got. This is a long episode. I don't care. Enjoy.
YOLO.
Settle in. It's a snowy day. You're all great. We'll be here to tickle your eardrums next week with a fun episode as long as I figure out the audio.
Did we figure out that...
I'm
missing-
working on it. I've sent some emails. Shh, it's fine.
We might be in real big trouble. We'll tell the story about next week's episode next week.
Seeing where we are.
Yeah, we'll
with
see
it
how
all.
we'll see how it goes.
You all are amazing. Enjoy the snowy weather. Eat some good snacks. We love you.
Peace out, Boy Scout.